Good morning, everyone. I'm Stacy. Welcome to Art Journal Life. Today we're going to talk about how to art journal. This would be a useful lesson for almost anybody, really. To start off, you need to pick a journal. In the beginning, when I started art journaling, I picked these very simple journals with, not great paper, kind of thin, but this type of thing is what I use to art journal. Then I moved on and I started making my own journals with hot pressed watercolor paper that I folded in half. This journal was a type of collage journaling. You're using things from magazines and you're transforming them with a paint pen. And then the third one that I have that is my current favorite is this journal, which is from Dilutions. This particular one is a square and I love it for a lot of different reasons. They make a lot of different sizes. My favorite one size-wise is probably their 5x7 because it's convenient to throw in your bag. This one isn't as convenient to carry around, but they all have this nice pocket on the inside and they lay flat. So this spine here, you can open this up. You can make it lay flat. So if that matters to you. The paper is very smooth. It's like a cardstock or a Bristol paper. When I began journaling, this was the first journal I used. I took a class that was not a journaling class. It was just a art for women class. The medium that I liked the most was chalk pastels. Now there's a lot of reasons because I didn't believe I was an artist. There's a whole lot of reasons why I like them. So I started in this book with this thin paper and I started doing things with chalk pastels like this. And I liked it because it was forgiving to me. I could make marks on my paper and sort of rub them out. And it made me a little less self-conscious. Now it was a women's group we were in and we were sharing our art. I needed that. I needed to feel less self-conscious. When we do this kind of creative art journaling, it doesn't matter. You just want to get stuff on the page. Not having a journal, do not let that stop you from progressing. If you don't have a journal, my suggestion is find a piece of paper. Take it out of your copier if you have one. Use a notebook. Use a composition book. I know some really successful people that use, composition paper is thin, but wet that paper up and let it crinkle and go crazy and they love it. So don't let not having something stop you. You don't need much to art journal. Use anything you have. 2 suggestions. This Uniball Vision, I happen to have the fine point one. You can buy about 4 of these for $7. It happens to be waterproof, which is a very nice thing because you could outline, you could draw anything you want with it and then put wet mediums over it and this isn't going to run or disappear. So this pen is a great, simple, inexpensive pen to keep on hand for art journaling. The second one I have that is a little harder to find. You'd have to go to an art store like a Dick Blick or a Jerry's Artorama. They would carry these. And this is a Stabilo all pencil. I like this. You can use a regular pencil and you could use a charcoal pencil if you wanted to. I like this one because this is not permanent and you can do some cool stuff with it. My favorite ones are this black one, the red one, and the blue one. They're very, what I call juicy. So when you add water to them, they bloom nicely. It's essentially a watercolor pencil. It is not permanent, clearly, because if you add water to it, it's gonna run everywhere. This is one of my top favorites. If you don't want to use a pen to draw, you could use a pencil and just your regular yellow school pencil, and that's great. We're gonna get into the prompt of making a art journal page. I brought along titanium white acrylic Amsterdam paint. I have a paintbrush, just a flat paintbrush, nothing special. I have some water over here and I have my 2 pens that we talked about. So my Uniball Signo and my Stabilo all in black. I've got my blue one also. I am going to literally put my hand on this page and I am just going to trace around it. I dip my brush in water and you can see this starting to bloom. My suggestions are to keep some paper towels on hand if you want to blot up some of the water, and you could just do this and color in. I don't worry about going outside the lines. I'm going to put a little titanium white. You can see how wet it is, and I'm going to color in my hand with the titanium white. But what I want to happen is I want this blue to sort of run into the white paint, so it becomes sort of tinted blue. If I had made the lines a little thicker, this blue would be running a little bit more. So I'm mixing more than one medium here. I'm just gonna thicken my lines up here a little bit, or darken. Whoops, don't worry about those things. Again, keeping my brush a little wet. You can mix water with acrylic paint, it's fine, it will dry fine. You might be wondering, what could you do with the rest of this? You could fill this with doodles in here. Once this paint captures this pencil, you could go over it later and it will not run as long as it's got paint over it, because the paint will seal it. You could start doing things like making circles, and you could fill your page with this kind of thing. You could take crayons and color this in. You could take paints and color it in, and you could just make marks all over your page. You could take your pen and trace around your hand, and you could just keep going. This is why I love art journaling. You don't have to consider yourself an artist. I'm going to argue that we're all artists, but you don't have to be an artist to be able to complete something like this. Fill your page, whether you fill it with just a solid color, fill it in with whatever you have on hand. Like, don't not do something because you don't have the tools I use. Okay, everybody, have an awesome week, and I'll